Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo, and tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Puba, Senator Pagoda, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some cognac, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 46th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We discuss how young cigars can preview future potential. We chat about Montecristo's inconsistency, and we explore how our mindset can affect a cigar and how a cigar can affect our mindset, all among a variety of other things for the next hour. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Croizet VS Cognac with the Montecristo No. 1. Our first Cuban Lonsdale on the pod tonight, boys. The Montecristo No. 1, a beautiful 42 ring gauge by 6.5 inch cigar. I really love how this cigar feels in your hand. I love it. It's
an awesome shape.
It's the perfect shape, I think. I think Lonsdale is the perfect shape. I really do. I know a lot of guys prefer bigger ring gauge cigars. I am not one of them.
We're gravitating away from that, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the market isn't. They're gravitating towards bigger cigars, but these are going the way of the dodo. But this is one of the good ones that are left.
Oh, yeah. The wrapper smells fantastic.
Really?
Very aromatic.
Oh, it does.
Doesn't it?
It smells very good, yeah.
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 It does smell good. It's a handsome. I mean, the if this smokes as nice as it looks.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic first cigar of the day. Like as a first cigar of the day, that's perfectly fits in my rotation in that slot.
I've only had this once before, and you gave me my first one.
Really?
Yeah. Never had this until you gave me one.
Very classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sophisticated looking cigar.
All right, boys, let's cut this thing. See what we're getting on the cold draw. I see Senator's got the perfect draw out.
Some resistance. It's open, but
I'm the same. Just a little bit of resistance on it. Definitely not wide open.
Mine's pretty wide open.
Yeah, not much on the draw.
No, it's very mild.
You know, maybe a little bit of chocolate.
yeah, like some light cocoa.
Yeah.
That's about it. A little bit of tobacco.
All right, boys, let's light this thing. The Cuban Montecristo No. 1, part of the classic Montecristo line. Again, it's 42 ring gauge by 6.5 inches.
Gizmo, what are these costs per stick? And that's a relative question, I understand, but
Yeah.
with what's going on.
I think right now these are between 13 and 16.
Okay.
They're on the lighter end of cost, and the reason why I wanted to do them tonight, not only because I love them, but they're fairly easy to find.
The smoke coming off of this
love 'em.
is fantastic. It smells great. Before taking a draw, very good.
Yeah.
Oh,
So these sticks in Canada, they're about $35.
wow.
35 Canadian.
That's unfair.
That's obscene.
It's pornographic.
A piece of pizza is probably $30 in Canada. I mean, their prices are ridiculous.
Healthcare is free.
That's the offset.
Wonderful people.
I mean, this is a
Delicious on the light,
good
right?
cigar in the light.
It is. The thing I will say, though, is that I find that this is a little bit, it steps outside what I would think is the traditional flavor profile of Montecristo, in that it doesn't have that kind of twangy thing that certainly the Monte 2 does. And the Monte 4 has a little bit. Like, this to me is a little bit more of a breakfast, lunch type of cigar. That's where I would put this.
Go ahead. I know where Senator's going.
I was going to say, I mean, I agree in that the flavors are not as pronounced as the traditional Monte sticks we think of, a Monte 2, even a Monte 3 or 4. But I do still think that the flavors themselves are present in this cigar, in that I get a little bit of cocoa. I do get that saltiness that's a little twangy like you'd expect in a Monte. So I think to your point, they're not as
Pronounced.
pronounced is exactly the word. They're not as pronounced as those other sticks, but I still think it's true to the brand.
The saltiness for me is the most pronounced note that I'm getting right now,
Agreed.
and loving it.
I'm getting a lot of that cocoa.
There's a little bit of pepper, too. I don't know if you
A
get
hint,
that, but
right?
a hint of
Agreed.
pepper. Not a lot, but a little bit.
So far, man.
Mine's performing wonderfully.
Yeah, mine too.
Off the start. So, and the construction is looks really nice.
Good even burn.
A little rustic on the construction.
Toothy.
Toothy, I
Actually-
guess is the word.
I
Less
actually think
rustic
the
than-
construction is really nice on this cigar. I mean, all of them. I would say you had gotten some of these, so I had gotten some through you. I mean, the seams are invisible. I think overall it's actually very well constructed.
It's a good looking
It's handsome looking. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, like you said, invisible seams, tight invisible seams, and it looks really nice.
Yeah, I say that because I truly would not call this rustic.
Yeah, I took that back. I just
Very
meant toothy.
smooth.
I think was a little bit
Yeah.
more.
There's a bit toothiness there.
Mine's a little bit toothy.
Not mine.
but it's pretty pristine. I mean, the
The
wrapper's
wrapper
pristine.
is very smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a little bit of shimmer and sheen to
Yeah.
it. It's a light colored wrapper.
Yeah.
So, Senator, yours was a little plugged, right?
Mine was, and for some strange reason, I mean, I have some of these, and I just experienced that recently this weekend. Now, thankfully, this time, the perfect draws opened it up exactly as it should, so I'm happy with the draw right now. But who knows? Could just be the box there. It's
Yeah.
funny because when you look at the foot, it looked like it was. I would not have draw issues, but the end of it was just really tightly packed, so it just needed to be.
Seems
loosened
like
up.
Pagoda did as well. right?
Yeah, I'm struggling.
Oh yeah.
Even with the perfect draw, there's been nothing.
Strange.
You know, you run the risk. Everyone, it's well known. You run the risk in these smaller ring gauge cigars. Sometimes, particularly in a Lonsdale, you can run into a tight draw.
But we've
Sometimes,
also
like with the Petit Corona, you can run into a tight draw. It's just
I've had an issue with
Unfortunately.
these once in a while. It does happen.
But you also get that issue with Monty twos, right? There was some inconsistency.
The consistency issues for me with Monty 2s have never been the construction. I've never had a plug Monty 2. For me, it's just been the flavor's been inconsistent.
I
but
see.
I've never had construction issues with a Monty
Okay.
2.
And what is this? 2019?
Yeah, these are 2019.
Yeah.
From La Corona.
Enjoyable.
Yeah, delicious
the
stuff.
salt is like very. Is it me or is this very salty and
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of tastes a little ocean like?
Yeah.
I feel minerally and right.
Which is
little
a
bit.
lot of those Monty twanginess I think you still get in this stick, which
That's
I
right.
really, really like.
It's very forward though.
Yeah.
More pronounced. I feel like a little bit more pointed, in a good way. If you're in the mood for that. Not getting as much of that chocolate vibe, that typical Monty 2.
No, it's not
Chocolate
overly
vibe.
pronounced chocolate, but there's a hint of like milk chocolate.
I'm getting quite a bit of chocolate on mine.
Oh wow.
And it's less salt, less twang,
I
more.
kind of get it like
more
mid draw.
chocolate.
I get it mid draw. Little very.
I'm getting
slight cocoa.
saltiness for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
so
is
I-
there is saltiness.
That's forward for sure.
I'm with Rooster and Puba in that for me, it starts really salty. You get those notes when you draw in the smoke. And I think on the finish is where I get a little bit of that cocoa, some milk chocolate. But the salt is and that minerality very, very pronounced.
Something's happening with this thing where let me just keep going. Where I feel like I'm not enjoying it for some reason. This is weird, but I don't think it was something I ate before I came here or anything, but I mean, all I had was some crackers and like some cheese and crackers and stuff. But like I'm getting like sort of like I don't want to say a chemical taste, but almost like what it would be like if I like had like just took mouthwash, like Listerine in my mouth and like I'm getting like an odd.
Ammonia type thing.
No, I don't know. It's like a odd taste. I hope it goes away,
Yeah.
but something strange.
Well,
That's
mine is
unsettling.
delicious.
Mine too.
No, I love the flavor on mine. I have no concerns with the flavor. For me, it was just a draw. That was it.
Right.
So Pagoda's trying again. We'll see how he does. That's the thing about Cuba, man. Cuba being Cuba.
Yeah. Well, I will say the cognac is delicious.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I mean, spectacular. Honestly, I got to say.
Is that better?
Oh, way better.
So,
There you
Senator,
go.
what do we have here? What is this cognac?
So this is Croizet VS. So we started, I guess, our cognac journey with a VSOP. We then quickly went straight to the top.
As
when,
we do.
when
As we do.
We had the Remy XO. And so I thought it was appropriate. We should really see the full range and have a VS. And we were at I was at our clubhouse recently, and one of the members there, someone had gifted him a bottle of this, and he also doesn't drink cognac very often. He took a sip and he said, wow, this is very, very whiskey-like. He really liked the flavor. So I had asked him to try a little bit. I thought it was actually pretty good, especially for the price point. It's a very affordable bottle. And so I thought it'd be fun for us to try our first VS on the pod. And the brand actually has got a really fascinating story, which I was just intrigued by as I was reading a little bit more about it.
This is delicious. This is delicious.
I love it.
I don't know enough, I think so, yet about cognac to really compare or judge to the others that we've had, but it's right in line with where they're at. I mean, this is very, very good.
Very tasty.
How much is this a bottle?
This is what you're not going to believe. This, I think, retails at maybe 40.
Wow.
Get the hell out of here.
But it gets even wilder. I think where they did not have this at Total Wine or some of the larger liquor stores that we shop at. So I had to go to a smaller place, not that close. But I think I got this for like $35 a bottle,
Wow.
which is insane.
It's very good for that
Did you
price.
get it at Bob's Deli around the corner? I mean, that's insane.
Not that kind of liquor store.
So tell us the backstory of this thing.
Yeah, so really fascinating. Croizet is one of the oldest cognac companies. They were founded in 1805, so just as lengthy a brand history as some of the better known names that we're familiar with, like Remy Martin, Courvoisier, Hennessy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the story of the guy who founded Croizet is fascinating in that. So in the late 1800s, this is when sort of the cognac boom was starting. In that early to late 1800s period. Come the late 1800s, as of 1883, 80% of cognac vineyards have been ravaged by lice that were destroying the vines.
Like lice?
Some form of lice, yeah.
Really?
That were literally just destroying all the vines. They couldn't make any cognac out of it. It wasn't salvageable. So
Pretty
this is
hairy situation. Yeah.
Goddamn laborers picking the grapes with the lice.
They don't shower enough.
Unacceptable.
So, funnily enough, a bunch of these French cognac vines became problematic because they were infested with lice. They couldn't do anything with it. And America at this time was starting to make cognac as well. And their vines were thriving and they were fine. So, this guy had a really clever idea to try to figure out to get American vines, even though they tried everything possible to avoid having to import American vines and sort of start over again. And finally, he did that and tried to find vines that would match the sort of climate and the environment of whichever of the Champagne regions within cognac fit the flavor profile of the brand. So after doing that, the guy had figured out that by building stone walls around smaller plots, he could keep out the lice and the crop would have a better chance of thriving and surviving. So he did that. And his efforts were so successful that in 1883, he was awarded the highest honor in France, the world famous Legion of Honor, by the French president to thank him for saving the entire industry. So a really cool brand story where
Wow.
without this guy, I mean, cognac may not have existed in the way that it did.
Amazing.
Sounds like a brilliant farmer like Don Alejandro Rubino we talked about on the Unicos episode, who totally revolutionized Cuban farming for tobacco. Sounds like a very similar type of guy.
And the other thing that was just funny to me, I mean, I had never heard of this brand before trying it at our clubhouse. But they make some really, really high end stuff. As of 2011, they held the record for the most expensive bottle of cognac ever sold. It was over 150,000 for a bottle. I suspect that someone has beat it since 2011, but at the time they held that. So they make some really high end stuff.
That's crazy.
Is there any American cognac?
I mean, I think America's version of cognac is like cheap brandy.
brandy,
Yeah.
Brandy.
Yeah.
Because to call it cognac, it has to come.
Yeah, it has to be
from
the
that
cognac
region.
region.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But there must be like American brandies that are okay or something. There has to be. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Are
know.
there? Is that even an
I mean,
industry?
the funny thing you say that, every time I feel like it's hard to find cognac to do on the pod because there's not the vast selection there is for whiskey or even tequila now. And the stuff I see, there's really not much. And the brandy options that are all American are so limited. And I mean, it's like blackberry brandy. I mean, shit that we would never want to
Oh,
drink.
is that
so,
right? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd have that with my Philly Blunt tonight.
Well, I was just thinking if you have a vineyard and you wanted to make some small batch brandy or something, that somebody would be doing it.
Yeah, I think part of the
You
problem
know?
is, we've talked about how cognac has kind of gone out of fashion and I think needs a comeback. If you're any American distiller, you're probably sitting there saying, is it really worth investing all that time and money in a product that is such a tiny part of the US market right now? But, who knows where it's heading? I mean, I certainly hope after people listen to our pod,
Yeah.
clearly there's merit in cognac. I think
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
3 cognacs we've done so far, this one included, the reactions have been
I was
positive.
just gonna
Delicious.
say that, like every single one of the cognacs you guys have had,
They were great.
they have been
Very
you guys
good.
have like rated them pretty
Very,
high.
very good. Yeah.
And the price point is not so bad.
It's
No.
really not.
Yeah.
It's really not.
It's almost like they need someone to come in who's like a marketing genius. That's someone that's figured out how to revolutionize vodka perception of
Like
Cuba.
tequila.
Yeah, there you go.
I know a guy.
I know a couple guys that can do that. One of us has the market research covered, and the other will handle all the branding and marketing.
That's right.
Perfect.
That's right. Well, yeah. Maybe there's somebody who could, a celebrity or a movie or some sort of quote unquote catalyst that would put cognac back into the forefront. Some sort of a hero, probably
I
a
think-
James Bond type. I don't know. Somebody.
I think maybe it's a misconception that a cognac is like an after dinner drink, maybe.
Well, which is, I'm okay with that perception just because I think many people view scotch as that and some of
True.
the other stuff we drink. I just think that the perception is that, cognac is an old man's drink, that
Yeah,
the
it's-
modern man doesn't drink
Right.
cognac. And I think that's what people need to, I think that's what they need to really break and get people to see that. I mean, we all love this and,
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, like whatever happened with the tequila boom needs to happen with cognac. To
Yes.
Yeah,
just
and
kinda take
Scotch
off.
is exactly. And Scotch is like as a drink, it's become a very masculine kind of. It has that masculine feeling to it. I'll have a Scotch, you order a cognac. It's like, oh, you're ordering a cognac.
Grandpa.
You know what I mean? You're like, it's like, well,
Where's your beret?
Yeah.
Right. So
Where's your beret?
where's your beret? Rusty. Rusty
that.
from European vacation with his beret.
I need to talk
Striped
about
black and white t-shirt.
Rusty Staub.
Rusty style.
I do find this cognac to be lighter of the other cognacs that we've had. That's not a negative. This is really quite smooth and delicious.
as it should be. So
Yeah.
sort of just like with single malts that you expect with, and even tequilas with years more to age, they get more structure, more body, more viscosity. This is on the lighter end, being a younger, a VS. But what I do like about this is, for its youth, which, this could be compared to, maybe a 10 or a 12-year Scotch. I think it's got a lot of flavor still.
Yes, it does.
Which is really nice. And I think a lot of whiskey notes you get from this, which I also appreciate.
Absolutely. It's pairing nicely with the cigar.
I was going to say, I'm
Honestly.
actually glad that what you just said about it feeling a little lighter, being
Yeah.
maybe a little less viscous. I
It's-
think it was the right one for this cigar.
It makes me think of other lighter bodied. I hate that combination of words, but that's the only thing I can think of here. What other cigars would go with this? I think of some of the Bolivar cigars. I think would be fantastic with this.
I agree.
I think a Bellicosas Finos would go really well with
BBF?
I agree.
Yeah. or the Royal Corona, which I
Yep.
had last week at vacation.
Yeah.
I think thinking of Lonsdale's, I think the Partagas 898 would go really well with this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's too strong of a cigar for a Pagoda.
Yeah, this is kind of so that weirdness that I was talking about has completely gone away. The
Good.
It's a little like flat for me, like
Okay.
a little bit one. There's like not enough there.
The cigar.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with the
cigar-
fact that it's one dimensional, but I like that it's consistent, and for me, there's some enjoyment there.
there's a lot of there's a lack of complexity for me so far. That's not
I
just
think
doing much
you're,
for me.
you're tasting the freshness of this tobacco.
Maybe.
I think if this sits for a while, it'll change. Because I have an older box and I have that once in a while. Much different, much more pronounced milk chocolate notes, very smooth. You get that saltiness, but you kind of taste the fresh tobacco in this.
Yeah, it's a little fresh.
Can we pass the bottle?
Of course.
Is that okay?
I'm spending all my energy sucking on this.
What year is this? what year is
That's
this
for the
cigar?
next session later. Pagoda.
2019.
It's a 19. It should smoke a little bit better than this, though. I hear what you're saying, Rooster.
Yeah,
but
I think for 3
I
years.
hear what you're saying. It should. In other words, I
mean,
get
I'm ju-
that.
I'm
I mean,
just-
we smoke enough
Yeah.
aged cigars. I have enough, but it's not showing me the potential that you're talking about. Like, it's not showing me that it's going to be like this really magnificent cigar in 7-8 years.
Yeah, I mean, it tastes a bit of harshness, for lack of a better word for me. I don't know. I mean, there's a big difference in an older box than a 2019.
Sure, but they usually preview. I mean, in other words, yes, but it's not previewing for me like it's going to be. Yeah, they'll definitely get better with age,
So here's a question.
but it's not previewing like it's going to develop into something amazing.
What Senator
me.
said earlier that he hasn't had performance issues with Montes, but he's had flavor inconsistencies.
Yeah, with
That
the Monty
could-
too.
Well, Montes, I'm going to say that could be happening right now. There could be some inconsistency in flavor.
I've had a lot of bad Monty twos.
Yeah,
I've had a bad.
I know you've
run.
said that before.
Yeah, we know.
I mean, I've had pretty bad, and I've bought a lot of them.
We
I mean,
remember.
So
Yeah.
I've had some pretty lackluster Monty twos.
I guess what I'm going to say about this is that what this cigar is and what my expectation of what it should be is
I know where you're going.
built on the fact that I'm not expecting it to be something crazy. Like, to me, the Monty 2 is a step up from this, for sure. No question. But
I think anything's a step up from this.
Oh,
This is not-
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Dissension in the room.
hey,
I mean,
I'm just-
listen, that's
There's
why
no
we do
finish
this.
for me. I've got no finish
Mhm.
on this. It's like nothing's happening.
So I'm going to
in my
say
mouth.
this something is very odd to me because I recently had one of these with my dad outdoors on my deck. Every cigar I would normally say smokes better indoors than it does outdoors. I have no explanation for how or why, but when we had this on the deck, each of us had a much different experience than what I'm even having right now.
Interesting.
no, the humidity might have been very high.
I'm saying it
possible?
was better.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's
he's
probably
saying it
more
was
humid.
better outside.
Better
It's probably-
outside.
Yeah, it probably works better because part of me thinks a lot of resistance in the cigar, a lot of resistance, which is fine. Very densely packed, feels a bit heavy, and I think a little bit of humidity would really help a cigar like this, just to loosen it up a bit.
I
And,
think
and maybe that's an explanation why it's
I
better in
think
the
the
deck.
opposite would be true.
Usually the
That's
opposite.
what
Yeah,
I
really?
would think.
That's why
right.
I'm saying it's hard for me to
Because
explain.
the humidity would make it even tighter.
tighter.
That's
Now,
right.
luckily, it was
Wouldn't it make
not,
it a bit softer too?
No, the tobacco expands as it gets wetter.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want that.
and that's where I was going this past weekend. If folks remember, it was not humid. It's like unusually cool, even
Yeah,
at
it was
night.
great. Yeah.
It was beautiful out, and I just had a more sensory experience. I just remember even on the light, just the smoke. It smelled amazing, and we were able to smoke this all the way down without any harshness. So I'm not understanding how this
All
is
right,
happening.
so let's go out on the deck.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's just let's see how it develops. But for me, I don't know. I'm not getting much. I'm not getting like on my palate. I'm not getting it feels very flat, very muted, very muddled. Nothing stands out.
The aroma from the smoke is
It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. Just
It's
bringing
not
it,
offensive. It's
No.
just not anything. It's like balsa wood.
bringing it to your nose though, and letting that smoke come up. It's really quite delicious. Yeah. It's almost fruity and sweet,
It is.
right?
On the note, the aroma.
Weird,
I mean,
right?
It smells
Very
amazing.
nice. There's nothing offensive here. It's
Right.
just, it's like, you remember those planes you'd buy when you were a kid? They're balsa planes. It's
I
like,
used to
tastes
love
like
those
that.
fucking things. I
And
love
the
those
rubber
things.
band, and you,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
twist that, and you send that thing flying.
Terrorize my neighbors with those
Sure.
things. Oh yeah.
You put wings on this thing and a rubber band, you got a balsa plane.
no idea what you're talking about.
What? You
No
weren't a
idea.
hobbyist.
I don't know.
You don't remember balsa wood planes
What year are you talking about?
with the rubber band?
Is it pre
And you'd
1984?
create tension,
Yes.
and there was a little
Yes.
Oh,
hook.
that's why.
Pre 84. Yeah.
You let the rubber band go, and the plane would go.
It would soar.
I mean, we used to make our own paper planes. That's
You know,
all I
I've never successfully made a paper plane.
No, I got-
Since the
show
day
you.
I was born, I
Well, it's
cannot
finesse.
I cannot make a successful fly
Do you
on
want
a
a
paper plane.
Do you want a tutorial?
I
It's
think I need
three
one.
Folds.
When
do
you
it.
say you've never successfully made one, you mean you don't know how to make one, or you've made one but you don't know how to get it to fly? like
I've
a
made
distance?
one and it's never flown more than like 15 feet. Like I see those guys that go to
15
like
feet?
15 feet is pretty good.
That's
dude.
pretty good.
Really
I see
good.
the guys that go to like the sporting events
That's good.
and they're at like the top row of a stadium and they throw it and it like lands in the goal post on the other side. That's a paper plane.
How
they're
deep are you,
professionals.
yeah? How deep are you in your YouTube vortex algorithm? Like that I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, I've never seen a human throw a paper plane further than 15 feet. I don't even know where you find this content.
You're
Yeah, but
saying it's
15 feet is
professional.
great.
There's a
Can
professional.
Can I say
league?
some other
there's
content?
There's a paper plane league.
Maybe it was humid.
There,
Was it humid?
there is a league for everything.
All right. So Senator and I don't know how we just segued into this. I'm actually impressed, but Senator and I forgot about this till right now. Senator and I were sitting at the clubhouse, I guess 3 weeks ago.
Making paper planes?
No, they're secret origamists or whatever they call it. Origami.
Origami. yeah.
Specialists.
Yes.
I have no idea.
And
what
we're
it is.
sitting there. We're watching. What were we watching? Were we watching tennis or golf or something?
Yeah, and then it had finished, and there was some like absolutely nothing on television.
Nothing.
Nothing.
And I swear to you guys, on ESPN News for like an hour and a half was the worldwide tag championship.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I was there for that.
You were there for that.
I was there for that. Yeah.
Tag.
It was
That's
all
great.
awful.
Teams of men.
Football?
No.
Tag.
Tag.
Teams.
Like tag, you're it.
You mean
Oh.
like teams of male virgins?
You mean
Teams-
stag?
Like 8 guys on a team.
Virgins.
Virgins. Running through a small arena with obstacles, trying to tag each other.
Right. Right.
I'm shocked that ESPN had a meeting and said, you know what, guys, you know what we're going to do to fill some content? We're going to buy the rights to the World Tag Championship. And
Yeah.
people watch it. I mean, we sat there and watched it.
The funniest part of the whole thing is they have like an official like commentator, announcer, whatever you want to call him, who's like hyping everyone up, and they have nickname. We're watching some guy's name was the Iceman. I mean, it was so comical. And then you look in the background, you expect that they're just in this arena by themselves. It's like a 2-story stadium that is filled with people who presumably pay or choose to waste their time and go and watch this live.
Well,
It's
I mean, you
exciting
could
to
make
watch.
an argument based on it. I mean, I think it would warrant an investigation that the people in the stands are either family or paid to be there. One. Two, I think the only
conspiracy.
reason why you're even watching this is from a voyeuristic perspective. I mean, it's almost like why you're not. I mean, you're looking at this with your mouth open, probably going, what the actual fuck is going on?
That's right.
It was quite honestly like,
Because there can't be people who actually are fans of this.
not only fans of this dude, these people travel around the world.
Yeah, that's the craziest part. It's a global sport. I mean, the fact that we're
You know.
watching the US and the UK and other countries compete, it's absurd.
It's shocking.
Well, people
and-
play frisbee.
That's true.
I'm just,
Well,
It's
yeah,
true.
frisbee. I mean, the ultimate. At least it's kind of cool. They throw one of those special discs to a target and they curve it around stuff. I mean, I guess I can kind of see how that's
So you're talking
somewhat interesting, although disturbing.
You're talking
to
about-
do as a hobby.
You're
I
talking
mean,
about disc golf?
yeah.
I
mean,
love
like
disc
if you-
golf.
okay,
Love
I'm
disc
not
golf.
totally shocked because you're but
I'm telling you, Giz wakes up on every Saturday morning at 5 to play it.
I do love disc
God.
golfing. I love it.
And you're officially the only friend I have that has ever said that.
Yeah, I love it. I think if we did a lizard outing, I think you guys would love it because it's a nice 4-mile hike through the woods,
I'm in.
professionally designed 18-hole course. It costs absolutely nothing. It's well kept. It's fantastic.
I am not going
I'll do
to
it.
sacrifice my dignity to even be open-minded to such an absurd notion.
Right? It's brunch time with Bloody Mary.
Thanks, man. Exactly.
I love you, Giz, but I'm joining these guys for
Bam Bam's coming with me.
I'm in with you.
You know,
It's fun, man.
I'd rather keep my dignity and move on.
I'm in for the hike. That's about it.
Yeah, it's a good time. But anyway, back to the tag thing. It is stunning to me. I literally thought, like in Dodgeball, the movie, like ESPN 8, The Ocho. I thought I was watching ESPN 8, like ESPN 8.
It sounds humiliating.
It was pretty bad. And we couldn't stop watching it. We've watched it for like 2 hours.
No, the thing, it's so absurd that you have to see it. You actually, if you have not seen it, it apparently is on Saturdays or Sundays. It was an afternoon whenever we were there on a weekend. It's just hysterical.
Yeah. Well, people,
I
they
mean-
do strange things.
It's more it's more entertaining than watching the Knicks.
That's true.
Well, yeah, the baseline for improvement is
Pagoda.
low.
Well, today I was reading that Nash may be out.
That's there's rumors of that.
Yeah.
Is that true?
And Katie to Knicks.
Well, doesn't he need to use his timeouts better, like do basic shit like that?
I mean,
Nash?
I don't like Nash as a coach. I didn't even like the hire from the start, so I would be perfectly fine. But I think the problem is that ownership likes him and that the players don't.
But Knicks are doing really well in the summer league, by the
You
way.
mean the
oh,
Dolans?
the summer league.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll be able to hold a towel if they win the summer league.
Hey, listen, you got to take what you get, right?
So for the listener, by the way, let's clarify. We do have we have two camps in the room. We have Nets fans and we have Knicks fans. And it gets a little contentious, especially with Pagoda, who's a major fan of the James Dolan New York Knicks.
And I'm a Longhorn, and Katie was a Longhorn, so I always hoped he'd come to the Knicks.
Yeah, it's too bad that he said he never even entertained the thought of going to play for the New York Knicks.
That's right. Miami, that was on the list, I heard, huh?
So how's the cigar doing?
Yeah, we're a little bit
By the way,
about
Rooster, thank you for the cigar. I think this is doing much better now.
good.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
About halfway through here, boys, on the Monty 1. What's everybody thinking right now? I'm enjoying it.
I think it picks up in flavor halfway through, and I like that.
It does. It's very smooth, and the smoke is velvety. It's not offensive. I'm liking it.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's picking up.
It's a little woody and earthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say.
Yeah,
If
definitely
you-
more cedar now.
And if you're looking
Yeah.
for oomph, this is not the cigar, but this
This
is
is not the one.
great early day cigar.
To
That's
me,
the
that's,
thing.
that's
No-
why I like
no
it.
doubt. There's
This
no
is my
doubt.
first. If I smoke this anywhere, just like tonight, it's the first cigar of the day. That's
Right
it.
after breakfast, fantastic cigar.
You're going to get this on your next birthday, by the way.
I really like this as the first stick.
I agree. I think the afternoon or late morning is the perfect place for a cigar like this. I mean, when I mentioned I had this with my dad, it was in the middle of the afternoon on the deck. First cigar of the day. It was perfect for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess I can
and
see that.
I think this goes really well with coffee as well.
I'm sure.
Well, you need some flavoring.
So the cognac without ice, a little,
Oh, it's going to have a little bite.
there's
Yeah, it's a
bite there.
VS.
Yeah, there's a little bit of bite, and you're not getting the sweetness as you would with a chip of ice.
Yeah. Of any VS cognac, you should serve over ice. It even on the bottle actually recommends, and that's just standard practice with a VS. And
Makes
then
sense.
a VSOP is where you can have, enjoy it neat. And an XO, I would never put ice in.
So does this brand make VSOP and XO? Do they all make the various grades of cognac?
They do, and it's just hard to find all of them. That's kind of the problem. So, I mean, for the big brands like Remy and Hennessy and Courvoisier, you can find the whole line. But for this is a big brand as well, but it's just not as not marketed as well. And so they have their more accessible stuff available readily. For their higher end stuff, you'd probably have to be in Europe to easily find it, or find a special retailer that would be able to stock it for
It
you.
seems like we have to be in Europe for all the good things in life. Cuban cigars, wine, cognac,
true.
champagne,
Yeah.
You know what?
whiskey.
One thing I tried once years ago, a client of mine gave me some Italian brandy. I had no idea what it was. It was really delicious. Could be worth a slight dive into Italian brandies. I don't know much about them.
Yeah, no, I don't know much about them.
Yeah.
I mean, given our experience with tequila, with cognac,
Yeah.
with some of the cigars that we thought that we wouldn't love,
Wine.
I am down to wine. I certainly, there's a lot of great wine out there. It's just
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, it's so vast that I just don't know enough about it. But would love to try some brandy
Yeah.
with a cigar.
Yeah, sure. You guys, something just crossed my mind. Do you guys know that feeling that you get when, like, I'm asking if you know. Of course, you know this feeling, but the feeling that you get when you smoke a cigar, and even if it's just a good cigar, like a good to very good cigar, and it gives you that like punch where you're like,
Yes.
do you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it gives you that therapeutic punch.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? And you're like, okay, and you like settle into it, and you're having this kind of like therapeutic response almost to it, where it really hits you. And like with cigars that we really like, I feel like almost the room gets quiet for a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this particular cigar it's maybe just starting to do that now with a little bit more strength or something maybe, but it's just not doing that for me. Like I feel like it's not like I'm fighting with it. It's just not delivering like that present that I want, that a cigar to me that's like I'm not going to score it now, but that's like an 8 or above
Yeah.
gives me. Do you know what I mean? It's not giving me that. And I don't know why, but it's just not delivering that kind of pleasure zone. It's not triggering that pleasure zone in my brain.
Let me ask you
Do
a
you know what
question
I'm
about
saying?
this. I do, and I want to dive into that because I think about that a lot. Because sometimes I'll have, let's say, a cigar that I have a lot, like a Padron Exclusivo or a BBF or a Monte 2 or whatever it may be. I find that, and I'm curious what your answer to this is, but I find that it's not only a combo of the cigar and the environment, if I'm by myself or I'm with others, we're smoking the same thing or not, the vibe, but also just kind of where my energy is coming from my day, going into the day.
It's a great conversation. I have some comments on that.
Like,
yeah.
what is the formula for you?
Personally?
Yes, that you have found that helps you achieve that.
So for me, and this isn't for everybody, because I've actually spoke to Senator about this multiple times. I think I've spoke to you the most about it.
Yeah.
For me, like when I'm really stressed out,
Yeah.
like if, we all get there, whether it's
course.
about work or life or whatever, when, you
Daily,
have one
yeah.
of those days, sometimes like to me, a cigar, I have to be in to enjoy a cigar, and I'm in that mindset now, ready to enjoy. But for me, when I'm stressed out, it's kind of hard to get in the mindset for me to unwind enough to actually let the cigar present itself for me to take my time with it, and for me to be in that kind of a meditative mindset where I can sit and just enjoy a cigar, listen to music, have a drink by myself,
Yeah.
and smoke it. Almost like that feeling where you'd have like, you know what, I don't really want to go out tonight because I had such a rough day. It's that kind of a day. But to me, cigar, now other people feel differently in this room, and everybody's
Absolutely.
different, where they're like, if I had a stressful day, I really need to have a cigar to unwind.
Yeah.
Correct.
I fall somewhere in the middle there. Like if I have a medium stressful day, a cigar to unwind is great. But if I have a super stressful day or something, that's not what I'm looking for. because I can't just get in that for me to get to the meditative state where I can actually accept the delivery of it and like be into it.
Yeah.
I'm too preoccupied to even enjoy it. It doesn't take me out now. So I don't know where I'm going, but I guess what I'm saying is that everybody's different, and that when you're in the mindset, when I'm like in the best of circumstances for me, where I'm like, I want to really have a cigar in optimal circumstances mentally, this isn't giving me that delivery where it's like, oh my God, like this is really so nice. Do you know what I mean? It's not doing that.
Sure.
I feel exactly opposite. In fact, me and my friends, when we started smoking cigars and we'd get together, we'd call it our therapy sessions. And the reason was we'd go to bars and we'd in loud, environments, barely having a conversation, and your conversations are very different. You have a stressful day, you hang out with a couple of buddies, you're hanging out smoking a cigar, and maybe the first cigar doesn't deliver, but by the way you would get to the second cigar, you'd be in such a relaxed state. And that's what really drove us to cigars. And for us, it was called a therapy session. In fact, we still call it our therapy sessions. And if we were to open up a cigar lounge, we'd call it a therapy session. You're right. Everyone feels differently about cigars, and for me, every time I have a stressful day, I want to go sit down, be in my solitude, have my cigar, have a cup of coffee or a drink, and just chill. And within a couple of cigars, I'm really good to go, and then I'm back to being the husband or the citizen of um, in the community. But the cigars really help me unwind because it gives me that hour and a half, 2 hours of just being in the quiet zone, in the solitude.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I mean, closer to Pagoda in that I think for me, cigars are like my version of therapy. But I can relate also to what Pooh is saying in the sense that I think the best smokes are always celebratory smokes.
Yes.
When you're on
Absolutely.
vacation, when
That's right.
you have a great day, at work, whatever the case may be, nothing beats the feeling of being in a good mood and a cigar just putting you on cloud nine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Nothing beats that.
Nothing beats that. But you're right. I mean, like, yeah, I fall a little bit more into the middle of like a cigar is not going to, it's a spectrum thing. I mean, it's degrees. So it's not going to bring me out of it. I'm not reaching for it when I'm really like, if because of something. But if I'm in the middle and I'm with people, it's going to help me.
And that's
if I'm
where,
alone,
I can
no.
relate on both sides because where I am more like Pagoda, though, when it is on the far other end of the spectrum, if I'm having my worst of days, I mean, my wife will just have to look at me to know I've not had a good day. And she'll say, do you want to go? Are you going to go to the lounge?
Go to
Like,
the
maybe
club.
just have a cigar. And I'll just sit down, even if no one is around me. If I'm just by myself and I light up a cigar that I enjoy, it just brings
can bring
me
you
back
up. It can
down
bring
to
you up.
Like everything's fine. I can think with more clarity. I mean, there are times I'm just wrestling with a really tough work-related decision, and I can just have a cigar, and all of a sudden I feel like I have perfect clarity. It's like I can't even explain it. So I can relate to both sides there. But all that's to say, I and many of us could not live without cigars.
No,
Absolutely not.
absolutely not. So
Absolutely.
honestly, for me, the meditative state that Puba mentioned is important here. I reach for a certain cigar because not every cigar is going to get me to that meditative state that I'm pursuing.
That's interesting.
No doubt about it. Like I'm not going to reach for, a lighter bodied cigar. I need something that's interesting, that captures me the moment I light it. An exclusivo, I'm in a cloud heaven with that cigar. So I reach for when I need it, I go for the specific cigar. And I've got a short list on my mind that I really love. Got to have that on a tough day. And it gets me right there.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it allows me to kind of put my day aside. And I've only recently learned how to do that. It's not easy.
I think for me, the only difference maker as far as my ability to de-stress, let's say with a cigar or get to that state, is if I've had a very stressful day, sometimes I just like to smoke by myself.
Those are my favorite moments. Some
and-
of my favorite moments.
And it's always balanced with, we do this a couple of nights a week. We smoke by ourselves a couple of nights a week. But when I'm really super stressed, unless we have an appointment like this, like we're going to do a pod, Like I know that when I'm driving here, it's like I'm no
this
matter
for me. This for me is an event.
Yeah, I love it.
I look forward to this.
Absolutely. And what I mean by that is on my way here, I'm trying to prepare my mind to get to the place that we need to do we're going to do the pod.
Rooster inside is laughing because he's always in his
I know
meditative state.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say. But really the difference for me only is smoking with folks or smoking by myself.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. The other day, Rooster and I were hanging out with now a friend of ours, we'd call it, and we were exhausted. We had spent the whole day golfing, and we went for a very long dinner. And we were just exhausted. It was past our buddy's bedtime as well. But when Rooster pulled out the 898, a 2002 898,
Partagas.
Thank you, by the way. Really appreciate it. It just woke us all up. We were fully energized.
Yeah.
So what a really good cigar can do for you is just liven your mood up. And it's like a second wind. And it was great because it just changed the whole conversation. Everybody was energized. And it's interesting how cigars can really just, really influence your mood.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
it was a great day.
That goes
That's
back
wonderful.
to what Puba said earlier. For him, this isn't getting him there, right? It's a good cigar, very tasty for him, but it's not giving him that body that elevates it. And that, that's fair.
And the complexity. I would argue that he chases complexity in a
Yeah.
cigar.
So I think
Whether it's full or not,
Yeah.
I'm speaking for you, but he chases a really
sure.
interesting, complex cigar.
And from the point of view of the listener, as they smoke more and more cigars, they're going to find the ones that they really love. Like I have my short list, as I mentioned, that I have to have when I have a terrible day.
What are they?
You're going to find those. The BBF,
Okay.
D4,
Millennium.
the Millennium for sure, the Exclusivo. QD won't. That's not sufficient for a tough day for me. The Upman 2, 100%.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
But boy, oh boy, when you think about a Davidoff Millennium,
Bro,
dude,
Bro.
in just, not that I'm about to compare that to this, but like what that delivers
Yeah.
in terms of like this. Oh,
yeah.
boy, oh boy, it's a nice cigar.
Yeah.
Because
All the time,
what
every
you're going
time.
to get out of that.
And it's
like,
so consistent, just
It's
like
so consistent. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yes. But,
just like the Exclusivo, you know what you're going to get.
but besides knowing what you're going to get, I could smoke this again and kind of know what I'm going to get.
Right.
But what you're getting with the Davidoff Millennium is really, really good.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
The only thing, though, I think Bam brings up a very important point because this has got me thinking now. There really is something to be said about when you're in those moments that you need to pick me up. You've had a long day. You're tired. Need to pick me up in the way that Pagoda mentioned. You reach for a cigar that you know exactly what you're going to get. And even though we're smoking this cigar, sure, we think we know what we're going to get in the next one. But I would even say, as much as I love the D4, I can't say that every single D4 I pick up from every single box is going to be the
Absolutely.
same. They're
That's
not.
true. That's
Absolutely.
They're a little different. Some are going to be a little sweeter. Some are going to be a little spicier.
Yeah.
Some are going to have a little more baking spice. Like there's all these, it's kind of I know I like all the variations of it, which is why I love the D4. But it got me thinking, I mean, I really, when I'm in a tough moment and I just need a cigar to just relax and unwind, I do find myself reaching a
For the
lot
Exclusivo?
for a Padron, either an Exclusivo, an
Oh, yeah.
80th,
80th, yeah.
Oh,
or
yeah.
a Millennium, because those are cigars that
They're your familiar friend.
It's not even every single box, every single time.
It's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, there's not much variation. Where even with a D4, as much as that's one of my favorite cigars of all time, there is variation where I'm not exactly certain from that particular box, unless I've smoked it before, what I'm going to get.
So what
I
he
think
just
it's a
said
good
is
point.
interesting. Unless I smoked it before, if you find a box of D4s, like one you and I ordered a while ago, I still have that.
Yeah.
They all smoke incredibly good, really rich and robust. I'm holding on to those.
Yeah.
Because for those moments, that hits the fucking spot.
I do the same thing,
It
man.
hits the spot.
Yep. And that's, listen, that's part of the journey, right? I mean, even a cigar you guys have mentioned, a couple of you guys have mentioned the Exclusivo. They're all great, but I've had those Exclusivos that for whatever reason, is it the cigar? Is it my mindset at the time? Is it the group I'm with? Are we laughing a lot? Are we having a great discussion like this? That there's like that extra 1% or extra 5% that Exclusivo out of the same box that I've been smoking is like a holy shit moment.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Even with the same
Yeah,
cigar.
sometimes you kind of want to go back into your tower and like revisit some of the smokes. Like you might not have had it for a while. Like I think it was the Upman 54 or even the 50 or the Cognac.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cognacs were like, they didn't do it for me in the beginning, and Puba used to love the Cognacs.
I
I
love
still do.
I love
And
that
he still
cigar.
does.
I still
And
do.
so I went back like after like months of not smoking that cigar. I went back, had a Cognac, and it was an afternoon. It blew me away. It was so good. I don't know, because it sat for a while. It kind of changed it, made it more complex and balanced, and really good. And
Yeah.
then the Upman 50 and the 54.
Yeah,
Delicious,
54.
delicious cigars.
Delicious cigars.
Yeah.
Yeah, as these cigars sit in our tower for years, they do change. Like I had a Vigia the other day. I've got some 2018 Vigia. I was okay with that cigar when I like first got it, but like I haven't touched that box in a couple of years.
Did you
And
have
I,
one?
And
you
I
had one
went in
recently?
and I had one recently, and it was really good.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it still wasn't. I wasn't like it was way better than I remember it, but it's still to me only just pretty good, just very good, not great. But again, it changed.
One last thing, if you don't mind. Also, the dimension of the cigar matters.
I totally agree.
Yeah, like that. Last week I had the HTC.
The
Hoyo
Hoyo Double Corona.
Yeah, that was a 2-hour cigar. I was alone at night looking at the lake. My mind just completely drifted, and it allowed my mind to drift because of the time needed to smoke that cigar. So that matters as well, depending on the
Yeah,
situation.
I think to your point, the ring gauge does. There are certain ring gauges that are more appropriate for certain occasions. For me personally, probably everyone doesn't subscribe to this, but you all have heard me several times. If I've had a really rough day, say I just want to drown myself in clouds of
Just
smoke.
want to be a chimney.
Yes,
I just want to be a chimney. I've said it 1,000 times. And I will reach for, that's when you'll see me pull like a Partagas E2, a 54 ring gauge stick that's just plumes of smoke everywhere. And it just puts me in that kind of meditative state where I'm not thinking about anything else
Right.
that's pissing me off that day except that cigar.
yeah,
And the same way that sometimes for a really celebratory occasion, and I remember once our former lounge, I had a really great day at work. I landed a big client, and I wanted a really big cigar that just put out a ton of smoke. And I had gotten a Davidoff Piquant for the first time, and it was
That's a good cigar.
It's a great cigar.
I've never had that.
It was they didn't have the Robusto. They just had this 60 ring gauge, and I lit that thing up.
60.
I was so happy.
Wow.
I don't have a single 60 ring gauge smoke in my humidor, but for that one occasion when I just wanted a big cigar in my hand and clouds of smoke to just celebrate a really, a nice moment for myself, it was perfect. So I like your point, Bam. I do agree that, depending on the situation, the ring gauge really matters.
Yeah, and when you're smoking a Lonsdale like this, back to this cigar, to me, like my expectation with a good Lonsdale is this, like, this bar is setting it too high, but like a Classicos or an 898.
Yep.
This elegant, it's like this, the wrapper's delivering this and the binder delivering this kind of pointed flavor. It's, my expectation, the size is like, there's a disconnect, but the elegance of the size and how it feels in the hand. And when you light it, and then what this delivers for me falls short for me, in terms of the length of the commitment, because it takes a second. You can't just blast through this thing. It takes a second to get through. And there's time in between draws, the finish. So the finish on this is abrupt enough where it's not hanging around on my palate long enough for me to really be like in between draws, for me to really be enjoying it. You feel me?
Totally.
yeah.
I think also to your point, I mean, smaller ring gauge cigars for me, maybe folks agree or disagree. I think the draw is usually just a little bit more resistant, and so it forces me to smoke it slower
Yeah.
Right.
than it does a larger ring
course.
gauge cigar that's got obviously a lot more surface area to just blow smoke through that.
Of course.
True.
So I think in those moments where I just want to take my time and savor a cigar, I'm not, I've had a long day and I just want to puff away and just be a chimney, but I just really want to enjoy and appreciate a cigar slowly. That's when I reach for a Lonsdale or a smaller ring gauge cigar that I'm just ready to be taken on that journey.
Right. But that journey for me to get there, the finish needs to be just much longer for you know what I mean, where it's like hanging around in between draws, because to your point, you got to take your time a
You gotta
little
slow
bit.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place for all different sizes of
It's
sticks.
so true.
And that's why every single cigar manufacturer makes different sizes, for different moods, different times of the day. If it's the winter time, you might want just like a quick 20-minute smoke.
Yep.
And I love the small ring gauges and the small sizes. That's typically a morning smoke for me.
Yeah.
I love the Trinidad, like the Reyes, half Coronas, the Ramon, the small one. What's
Club
it called?
Corona?
Small Club Corona.
Yeah, Club,
Sure.
delicious.
But those
delicious.
cigars you mentioned have so much
flavor,
more flavor.
So
Yeah.
much flavor. Oh,
The-
They're
the-
packing they're punching so far above their weight class.
The
even-
Colonialis as well. Yeah.
even the Montecristo Media Coronas, delicious cigars. I mean, in that size, awesome.
Yeah, and when I think of Montecristo, I think of that like chocolate bomb, some of those dessert flavors that you get from a typical Monte, and this particular cigar just isn't delivering in that fashion for me.
I want to tie two things together here really fast, because I think it's interesting. You mentioned about seeing the potential in a cigar, or tasting the potential.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And also going to what a couple of you guys have said about, when you have a cigar that's not great, you leave it in your humidor for a little while, you come back to it. It is interesting how, in a lot of cigars that are young, you can taste the potential, saying, oh, in 2 years, 5 years, 6 months even, this is going to be way better. And in moments like this, it is interesting that some cigars just don't age, even like their peers, same size, same vitola,
they
etc. It's a really interesting journey as far as aging cigars goes.
I agree. The only thing, though, I would say to the listener is I think that more times than not, this is
Absolutely.
not foolproof, but more times than not, when you encounter a cigar that you don't enjoy,
Yep.
I've been in this boat so many times where I've been so frustrated with a cigar, I've considered just throwing it out. I don't even want it in my humidor. I'm sitting there saying this is not at all enjoyable. Maybe at best it gets somewhat enjoyable, but it's still not going to be a great cigar. And the reason I say this, I remember some random kind of yard everyday cigar I had bought years ago. I hated, and I thought about throwing them out. And then I said, screw it, I'm just going to leave them in this extra humidor I had. I left it there for years. All of a sudden, years later, just as a joke, I thought it'd be funny. I said, let me just try and see what this possibly tastes like. All of a sudden, it was probably 3 years later, that cigar was creamy and sweet and delicious. And I could not believe how different it was from my first experience. So I just say it's not perfect. It's not foolproof, but more times than not, and in fact, I'd say most times, if you just tuck something away for years and revisit it, you could be very pleasantly surprised.
Could be. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
I think 9 times out of 10, time is absolutely going to benefit a Cuban cigar.
Time is on your
but
side.
it's just relative. I mean, it's
Exactly.
not like time is going to help something that starts in a certain place isn't all that great and make it into something spectacular. It may become something significantly better than what it started at.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's going to become world class just because it ages up. I mean, I just don't believe that. I mean, or just every single box of aged anything becomes just the greatest thing of all time. And that's just
Totally.
it's relative. I mean, for me, this isn't previewing like something that would set up later that great, but who knows? What the hell do I know?
Yeah.
I mean,
So before we rate the Cognac, boys, we're into the last third here of the Monty 1. What are you guys thinking right now?
I'm ahead of all of you, I think. At this point, it's really flavorful. It's quite nice. Very good smoke at this point.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
Yeah. No, I think I can understand that.
Are you torn or are you worn?
I'm not worn. I'm torn. It's just, I don't know. It's not doing it for me, because I've had a better Monty number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is. This is not cutting.
Here's a question.
Not
Now,
cutting it tonight.
We've had some cigars that had muddled flavor profiles. I don't think this is one of those.
Yeah, it's not muddled. I just think I just get a lot of
Is it?
fresh tobacco. Like it's
maybe
not.
it is just too fresh, but it's
Maybe.
2019.
I know.
mean, doesn't seem it should like preview better.
I mean, I've had a Monty one that was like just a chocolate bomb, like Puba said earlier. I mean, it was just
Right.
delicious, right? So I don't know. This one's it's getting a little bitter now at the end. I'm getting a little bitter
Really?
taste in the front of my tongue. Not getting any chocolate that I usually get out of the Monty number ones and even the Monty number threes. So it's okay. It's not great. I mean, I don't hate it, but it's not a great stick so far.
I mean, hearing this discussion, it just reinforces, unfortunately for me, how I have felt about Monty, in that I've not had consistency issues with construction, but I have with flavor, and I say that because out of the same box, some of these that I've had have been really enjoyable, and some of them that I've had have been, like you're describing, a bit flat and not all that interesting. And some, I just think there's a consistency issue here where I have had some of these that I say,
Yeah.
this is good. I mean, Giz gave me the first one I had ever tried, and I liked it enough to source some through him. And then of what I sourced, some of them I enjoyed, and some of them I've said this is just okay. So there is just some odd consistency.
Yeah, I think
issue.
we may be going through that in this room, right? A few of us are tasting something different.
And out of 6 of these sticks, 2 were pretty badly plugged. One was extremely plugged. I mean, Pagoda couldn't even smoke the first one.
Yeah.
And
I
I
tried
will
it for
say,
both ends.
Yours was pretty plugged.
and I will say, as I've gotten further along with this, it's very the draw is very tough. I mean, I'm not going to be able to smoke this all the way to the end. It's just too much.
There's no smoke in this bloody robe.
It's kind of, I mean, this narrative that's manifesting in this conversation is kind of the Montecristo narrative that we've had anecdotally over time. No, I mean, here and there, I'm talking just anecdotally. Comments, it's kind of manifesting, right? Like we're like, some are good, some aren't that good, some have blown me away, some haven't. I've had, you're just,
Well, if you remember,
it's the thing.
I think
It's
it
a
was,
real thing.
I don't know if it was episode 3 or episode 4. We did the 1935 Linea, the Dumas, and we had a majorly long discussion about exactly this.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? But those cigars were great.
They were, but
incredible.
the point was that why does it cost this much money to get a great Montecristo? That was the whole gist of the convo.
Right.
And I think
Was it the Maltese or the Dumas?
It was the Leyenda, I believe.
No,
No. We did the Dumas.
We did the
Dumas?
Dumas.
We
Oh,
did the
okay.
Dumas.
The middle size.
It was the Maltus.
Maltus.
Maybe
It was
I don't
the
remember.
Maltus. It was my
The mid-
box.
the
Yeah.
middle-
Yeah,
the
that's
middle
right.
Yeah,
one.
it was
was.
Puba's box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remember we had that discussion, and then that's going on almost a year now.
Yeah.
Or 8 months, 9 months, and certainly I have been an evangelist with the young Monty 2s that I've had,
Me too.
and we had a nice experience with that. We've been smoking some of those, and they've been great. But that is seeming to me to be an outlier,
Yeah.
as opposed to the current story.
Right.
It's an outlier.
But like, I've smoked Monty 2s where I've, no joke, been like, this is absolutely so good. Like, so good, fits the bill.
Yeah,
And
the
I've smoked some.
1970s Monty 2s are fucking awesome.
1970s.
Look at this guy over here.
I know.
And then I've smoked some that have just been absolute train wrecks.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just that narrative that sometimes it's the biggest, most highly distributed, I think,
Yeah.
marca in the catalog to a certain degree. So,
As we refill our glasses again.
The other thing too that I want to tell the listener, if you go back to that episode, you did a pretty deep dive on Montecristo, of the brand history and whatnot.
right.
So that's something to review as well if you're interested in Montecristo. And that cigar was very, very good, rated very high.
Oh, look at Garcon. Thank you.
Garcon is giving us all
Oh,
some ice.
Garcon. You're so look.
Well, he
he's-
does have his berry on.
Senator, he's a handsome guy too. It's not all just substance.
I think he looks better when he serves this stuff.
I like him in shorts, actually, too.
He has good ankles.
Good calves.
He's got good. He's got
Very pronounced.
He's got decent calves.
Very pronounced.
No one has calves like Bam.
That's why I wear jeans.
They're tree trunks.
Well, I got to keep them out of sight, you know.
This bottle is very cool. Of this, how do you pronounce that, Senator? Croizet.
Croizet.
I'm
The
not
French.
French.
They don't pronounce the.
That's
T
right,
at
the
end is
T.
silent.
I didn't do well in
Pass
French.
that around.
I didn't do well in French.
Oh yeah, very nice.
I think it's pretty tasty.
It is tasty.
It is a good looking bottle.
Yeah.
It's a very handsome bottle, like Senator.
Very unique.
Handsome. Pass it back the other way. We're playing past that bottle, ladies and gentlemen. It's going back down. There he goes. And Senator's observing something. He's looking at the label. He's looking closely.
I love this commentary.
And now he's,
But
he's
you-
putting it back
Play by
down.
play.
You have a future career in play-by-play.
I think the tag championship people may be hiring.
I think John Sterling is
Sure.
about to retire
Sure.
from the radio broadcast.
is,
You may
sure.
be the next Yankees radio
That's right.
broadcaster.
Yeah, nice man runs up the sideline straight from his mother's basement. He's 36. Hasn't had a girlfriend since the third grade. Valentine's Day, 1984.
All right, boys, you guys ready to do the formal liquor rating on this cognac tonight?
Yeah.
All right, Bam Bam, you're up.
I'm giving it an 8.
Okay,
I think it's enjoyable.
Pagoda,
7.
Senator,
8. I would definitely drink it again.
same here. I think it's an 8.
Yeah, price for value for what it is, what it stands for. 8. It's an 8. It's an 8. Pagoda.
Composite Lizard score, boys, is a 7.8. Definitely a recommend. And at that price, I think
Yeah, price.
if you haven't had a cognac or haven't tried one, when we've tried one, this is a great one to start with.
because I think you can't take price out of the equation, right? I mean, you
100%.
can't.
It's
With these
100%.
spirits, you just
Totally.
can't do
What
it.
they were
That's
able to
awesome.
produce at that price point, under 40, I mean, at most you're going to pay $40 for that bottle.
Yeah.
I think speaks volumes.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
It's not
Amazing.
It's not a rack, as Grinder would say. It's not a rack and stack rating, whatever. You know what I'm saying? How would you rack and stack those? What's up, Grinder? Peace. But you know what I mean. You wouldn't. I think you got to take price into consideration. There's value there. It tastes good.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I'll say, I think, sometimes as we're trying different spirits, it's hard to find something at an accessible price point that you would recommend to get someone in the fold, right? Someone who doesn't want to commit $80 for a bottle just to try something for the first time. And I think it's really nice that someone can get this affordably, give it a shot. And if they're into cognac, I think this will just take you right up that ladder.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down.
Actually, considering the price point, it should be an 8. I'm
Reconsidering. Too late.
too late.
Too late.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Like, will I go to a liquor store and pick this up for $40, or just pay a little more and get something I really like? I always debate that, and yeah, but this is not that bad actually for the price point.
Yeah.
Of the cognac.
All right, guys, we're coming to the end here of the Montecristo #1.
For some of us, so.
You guys ready to give this the formal Lizard rating?
Thank God.
You didn't let me set that up. I was going to use the People's Court.
Oh, yeah.
The people are real. The cases are real. The lizard ratings are final. That's what I was going to.
Sorry to jump in there.
Dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun,
fine. Dun, dun, dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun.
I have watched so much People's Court in my life.
Yeah, man, me and you too, bro. I've watched so much.
Dude, I watched it when it was the original judge,
Yeah.
Oh, Wapner.
Wapner,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
and
Yeah.
then Jerry Scheindlin, who's Judge Judy's husband, was on it,
Sure.
and then there was somebody else, I think.
Oh,
and then,
it was
there
the
was a woman asked.
no,
Hispanic lady.
that's current. She's the one on there now.
No, there was a woman on, I think, before her.
No, the woman that's on there now has been there for
Judge Marilyn Mignon.
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
been there forever.
Oh, she's still there.
I think she's
Yeah.
still
Wow.
there. Yeah.
That's a long
She,
run.
she's still there. I mean, I'm an expert in landlord-tenant law. Across, by the way, across states and jurisdictions. I mean, sure.
Well versed.
Yeah, like California, very different than like Minnesota landlord-tenant law. I mean, California, I mean, you just walk into somebody's house and drop a suitcase, you're a tenant.
You know what I find interesting about that show too?
They could not leave for 6 months. You have no idea what to do. Someone just walks in your house and walks in the bedroom. It's like, oh, I live here now. You're like, oh, fuck.
They've established domicile.
They can change the locks. All of a sudden, it's not your house anymore.
Right.
It's called squatters' rights.
Yeah, you can't even let like a friend sleep over. Like next thing you know, that's it.
They're on the deed.
Put a couple pairs of underwear in the drawer, drop some shampoo in the shower. That's it.
You know what I love about that show too? Harvey Levin is like the TMZ god. Like he's like a cajillionaire. He owns TMZ, and he still stands out on the street asking people what they think of the case on the People's Court. It's incredible to me.
Oh, it pays for
What was that guy's name?
for the gas.
Harvey Levin.
Harvey Levin. It pays for the gas.
He
in
owns
his boat.
TMZ.
Does he still do it?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Wow.
Is that show still on?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think it is.
Huh.
All right, boys. Let's rate the Montecristo number 1. Rooster, you're up.
It's a 6.
Puba.
It's a 6.
I'm going to give it a 7 for sure.
I'm going to give it a 7 because I've actually had very enjoyable experiences with this.
It's a 5 for me. And, possibly if the cigar was a great smoke for me, it might have been different. But based on the cigars I've smoked, it is definitely a 5.
Bam, bam.
I'm giving it a 7 because I happen to like my cigar tonight.
Composite Lizard score, boys, is a 6.3.
Okay.
Not great.
No.
Not great.
No, but I like, as a summary, I think what Puba said earlier. I mean, this is the story of Monty for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get a kind of a mixed bag. Some are great and some just are not.
Yep.
And, if you're spending $13, $14 a stick, there's so many other sticks that you could just opt for. I was looking online and there was showing like $6, $7 for the pricing. I think at that price, it's probably definitely worth it. Maybe a couple of bucks more, but if you're spending $13, $14 in the stick, there are better alternatives.
So I just wanted to say quickly that the Montecristo 1935 Linea Maltese, which we did episode 4, was an 8.9. And the Montecristo number 2, which we did episode number 28, was an 8.4. So
Can I also throw out a theory?
go ahead.
So we've all discussed how we've had issues with the Monty 2, right? Some great, some not. And then all of a sudden, this recent year, as in like 21, is that what it was, your box?
These were 19s.
No, the Monty 2.
Oh, excuse me. 21s, yeah.
21. All of a sudden, and you sung its praises. I was skeptical. I tried it. Everyone in this room did. We loved it. We were shocked how good. The Maltus we did, that was definitely 2020. That wasn't older than that.
I think it was a 20.
Think so. It had to have been probably 20.
Yeah. I almost have this strange theory. I'm just curious to test this a little bit more as we smoke more Montes, that maybe since 2020, the consistency's gotten a little bit better, because it's a little odd to me. This is a 2019. If I'm thinking back to when I had problems with Monty 2s, it was really pre-2020 that I had some unfortunate experiences. So I wonder if the younger stuff is actually more consistent, and we may want to hold an age as opposed to some of the stuff before that.
Honestly, Gizmo and I have had great experiences with every young Monty, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the Petit Edmundos that I have that are young too,
Okay.
we're smoking really good.
Yeah.
So.
Could be.
All right, boys, a 7.8 for the Cognac tonight and a 6.3 for the Montecristo number 1. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
Keep smoking.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, loungelizardspod, P-O-D, that's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.